Good evening, everyone. This is the Ask Dr. Renee Show. I am your host, Dr. Renee. And for those who have never tuned in before, this show is here to motivate and inspire you to live the life that you deserve and live it right now. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is the only one we have, so we should live it the best way we know how. And this man truly does that. Okay, so today's guest is Derrick Jones, better known as D Nice. But if you don't know what he's done, he's going to tell us what all he's done. But he's done a lot of stuff outside of what we all saw that he did. I've learned so much in knowing him for the last few years that I'm just still impressed. But if you haven't seen, if you've missed some of the episodes of the show, you can always go to my website, askdrrenee.info, or my YouTube channel, Ask Dr. Renee. Don't forget to subscribe, and you can watch all the past episodes. June is Black Music Month, so I thought this would be a great way to bring in the month to have part of hip-hop history, D Nice, with us this evening. And hopefully for the rest of the month, we will have some other people that have made a great impact on Black music. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Derrick.
Hey, what's up, Doc? I love seeing you. This is actually kind of cool to see you this way.
Thank you. So let's get started. So what was your ambitions as a child? What did you want to do, be, whatever?
Man, as a child, I wanted to actually become an attorney. But growing up in the Bronx, sometimes you don't get those opportunities. And I fell in love with music. And I didn't think I was gonna have this type of career to have lasted this long. But I fell in love with music and just ran with it. And I've been doing it since I was 15 years old. Yeah, I'm the music man.
Okay. So growing up in the Bronx, so I don't know, did Chris grow up in the Bronx too, KRS-One?
Chris was, he lived in the Bronx at one point.
Okay.
But he lived mainly in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And then he moved to the Bronx. But he was more of a Brooklyn guy.
Gotcha. So how did you...
The first song was South Bronx.
So how did you, because you started really young. You said 15. So how did you get into Boogie Down Productions and then, catapult into this?
Most people would think that I was rolling with the crew and I had demos. When I became a part of the group, I actually had never written a lyric. I had never produced a beat. I had never done the beatbox or any of that stuff. I was strictly a hip hop fan. And my cousin worked at the same men's shelter that DJ Scott LaRock worked at he was a social worker, and KRS-One actually lived there. And I was actually visiting my cousin, and he introduced me to Scott. And from that moment on, Scott was just like, yo, you're going to be down with our group. Just like that. It sounds so simple, but that's the way it happened on the first meeting.
Right place, right time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now, were you producing all along, or did you just start producing later on?
No, I started
with BDP. Okay.
With BDP, I started with South Bronx.
Okay.
South Bronx was the first record that I worked on, and I didn't really produce that record. It was more Scott LaRock, but he was just showing me everything on how to put the drums together, on how to to understand bass lines, and we had a guitar player there where he wanted them to be. Then we did the chorus. I'm on the chorus, so that was the very first song that I learned to produce on, and then the next opportunity to produce didn't happen until we started to work on the second BDP album, By All Means Necessary, and on that album I did the tracks like I'm Still Number One. Even though I'm not really credited, I was still young. I didn't know the business side of it, but if you ask KRS, he'll tell you I worked on that. And my philosophy, I came with the beats. I was mixing some of the other records on the album, and that was like my first real opportunity to produce.
Okay, so I must ask, because I know that way my family is. What did your mother and father think of this?
Well, I couldn't tell you what my father thought of it. He
right,
wasn't
I
around.
remember. I just when I said it, I thought about that.
Yeah, I wasn't raised. I didn't live in a household with my mom. Some parents will say, what I'm about to say to you can be perceived negatively, but this is just from my personal life and from what I observed. It was a blessing that I didn't grow up with my parents in a household, because we all thought, most people in my family never worked for themselves. Like, I've been a business owner since I was 16 years old. You know, like I've only worked for myself. And I think I don't want to say the beauty, but what was fortunate about not being in the household with my parents was that I didn't have anyone to tell me not to do it. Like, oh, you can't do that, or don't try that. So I've failed a lot in life, you know, had failed businesses and failed relationships. I've failed, but I'm not afraid to try. And that stems from my childhood, you know, and that stems from no one ever telling me that I couldn't do something. So this may not work for everyone, but for me, it worked out. It worked out well. And, you know, I could tell you now, my mom, she's very proud, you know, but you know, I do depend on her just for some advice, because I want my mom to feel proud with what I'm doing. You know, I want her to feel like she made certain sacrifices, because not raising your kid, it was a sacrifice. It was a choice to allow me to live with my great grandmother, you know, and I want her to know that sacrifice is so much appreciated, because it helped make me who I am today.
Definitely. And that is very important, that you have to try. And if you don't try, then you never know.
Never know.
That's my life story, because everyone's like, well, how did you do this? And how did you do that? I said, well, I just asked, or I just did it, and it worked. So, yes. You know, even with this show, I told people I am very good at convincing myself that everything is a really bad idea. So this was a really bad idea. And so I emailed 5 people to see if they would do it. And they said they would. And I said, oh my God, that means I really have to come through, because now it's out there and they're going to be looking for me to do it. I can't change my mind. So, yeah. So, you know, you got to try. And I always say a closed mouth does not get fed. You have to ask. You never know. If you don't try and you don't ask, you never know what could happen. Just like you and meeting Scott LaRock and all that, you just never know. You have to be open to the possibilities.
I have no regrets when it comes to career choices. You know, like I've done almost everything that I've ever wanted to do. I've traveled the world as a performer, as a DJ, as a photographer, and you know, I know that I've had some amazing experiences that I share with my kids. You know, and I want them to be the same way. Like, you have to be able to try. You know, you will fail. The odds are against you, but when you find success, oh my gosh, there's no greater feeling than working for yourself and doing what you love, which is more important. I mean, you can still work for someone doing what you love, but just doing what it is that you love is just so important.
That is my philosophy exactly. Like I said, life is too short to be miserable. So please enjoy what you do and be happy when you wake up. Be excited to get up in the morning. You know, there's so many people that don't have that, but you know, you should really work towards getting that, figuring out exactly what it is you were put here to do. So what year did BDP start?
The group started around 85. I wasn't in the group at that point.
Right.
I came along after. I came along in like 86, but right around 85, 84, 85, they weren't always BDP. They had another name. I think they were called the Celebrity 3. And it was Scott LaRock, KRS, and someone else. And then the group started to evolve into BDP, into Boogie Down Production. Yeah, so.
Okay. And how many albums did you guys have?
Man, I stopped counting because at one point I was no longer in the group.
Gotcha.
So I was involved with 4 of the BDP albums. So Criminal Minded, I was By All Means Necessary, Ghetto Music, and Edutainment. And by the time Edutainment was released, I was a solo artist, which is so crazy because Friday I celebrate it's the 25th anniversary of my first album, my first solo album, I'm like, man, Call Me D-Nice is 25 years. It doesn't even feel like that. It's crazy.
No, it's so funny. Every time I said I'm interviewing D-Nice, they're like, just call me D-Nice? You take it out just like, yes. It's like, must everyone sing every time I say it? They're like, oh my God. I said, yeah. So, but yeah, that is funny. 25 years.
The thing that's crazy is that most of the fans that grew up listening to the music have no idea what I'm doing right now. You know,
exactly.
Like they don't know. So when you say D-Nice, they're like, wow, I haven't heard that name forever. But meanwhile, I'm like traveling the world and I'm DJing for everyone, and it's been great. It's been a great experience. And that's another one of those things about not allowing anyone to limit your creativity, limit you know, your ability to just kind of focus and know where you want to be in life. You know, like I'm telling you, man, I'm having an amazing life. You know, an amazing one from start to where I am right now.
Yeah. Now it's funny because when we first heard self-destruction, and I told you this, we actually did self-destruction as in church as part of our talent show. And when we heard self-destruction, you know, back in the day, it was all about learning all the lyrics and writing them down. But self-destruction, the lyrics were on the album. So we were like, he speaks so clearly. You can understand every word he says. That was like our one thing about you.
Yeah.
That was our biggest thing.
That's what I loved about that generation of hip hop, was that you knew the lyrics, you know, like now, and no disrespect to what's going on now. But sometimes you have no idea what's being said. And by the time you like get into the song and then you read the lyrics, you're like, wait, I've been singing that? Not a good thing, excuse me.
Right. Exactly. And I will never forget, I was at a party in college, and I guess I had never heard the real version of something. And they played it. No, the person that was dancing with me was singing it. And I thought he was just being raunchy. And then I actually listened and heard that's what it was really saying. I said, oh, my goodness gracious. I said, you have no idea what you're listening to. But like self-destruction, like I said, we knew it from the beginning to the end. That was our jam. And I showed my mom. I was like, Mom, look. And she, you know, she knew it too. And she's like, okay, well, you can do that in church. You know, it's fine. So we did.
That's great. That record celebrated 25 years last year, which is crazy. And I was a kid. I think I was like 18 when I produced that song. So that's what
I was going to say. Most people do not know that, because I know when I found out, I had no idea. But I did not realize it. But you know what? I didn't read credits then. I didn't read them then. Exactly. Getting into entertainment, that's when I started reading liner notes, and I could tell you everybody and who the people are, but I had no idea. No idea. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But that, I mean, it's a classic though.
Yeah, those were great times. Fantastic times. And I mean, and I wouldn't be where I am without those moments. You know, I've learned some valuable lessons from being in the studio, traveling the world. You know, I knew what it was that I wanted and what I did not want. And a lot of those lessons were learned back then, you know, with BDP. It was a very important time for me and very important time for hip hop culture, because we did stuff that, I mean, look, celebrating 25 years of records. Like we started to reach these milestones within the last 5 or 6 years, whether it was the 25th anniversary of South Bronx and Criminal Minded and, you know, By All Means Necessary. And now to have my own personal milestone, it's just, and to still be here doing what I love. I mean, tomorrow night I just played the opening night in LA for the film Dope for Pharrell. And then tomorrow I'm doing the New York version. And the fact that I'm there, not just representing old school hip hop culture, because I rarely do old school parties. I'm there representing the DJ movement and just being consistent, you know, with everything that I've done. But the performers that I'm rocking with, I'm so excited. It's like Dougie Fresh and Biz Markie and Roxanne Shante. And these are like people that I admired growing up, you know, like Dougie Fresh was the first record I ever bought, you know, when I was like 13 years old, the first record I actually spent my own money on. So to be friends with Dougie after all these years and to now say, oh, I have a show with him. And, you know, I've done multiple shows and tours with Doug, but it's still fresh to me, you know, where tomorrow I'm rocking with Dougie Fresh and Biz Markie, you know, and Roxanne Shante. So I love the fact that, you know, I've had this long career in music and now also in photography and web development and, you know, in marketing, and I'm still going and I still feel passionate about it. And that's why I really believe that you should only do what you love. You know, that at least it works for me. Everything that I've done, I've loved. And I know I'm going to continue being that way for the rest of my life.
Just to let everyone know, if you want to ask questions, make sure you click on the box on the bottom of our screen on YouTube. It says be a participant. Click on that. Then you'll see some white boxes in the upper right-hand corner. Click on those. It'll say Q&A. Click Q&A, and then you'll see it says ask a question. Type in your question, and it'll pop up on the screen, and hopefully we'll get to it. So how did you start DJing? Like, what was the transition from being the solo rapper to becoming to DJing?
Well, after the passing of Scott LaRock, I became the group's DJ. So DJing, I've always DJed from back then, but I was never a party DJ. And then all I had to do was play 15 songs that we were performing, and then that was it. I wasn't out doing DJ gigs everywhere. It wasn't until roughly around 2000 that I became more interested in DJing, and I owe a lot of that to Q-Tip and Mark Ronson. They used to DJ together a lot, and I would just hang out and watch them. And the fact that they were playing so much soul music and playing current records, and and it was a cool thing, and not even just soul music, but mixing in Blondie with Public Enemy, like playing Too Short and dropping Mick Jagger on top of it. I was fascinated by that, and I realized that those were the songs that I grew up with. I grew up in the 80s. We didn't have we were limited to the amount of TV shows that you could watch to see anything. Forget about just being urban, but just hip hop in general. So you wanted to watch Run DMC. Well, they were only showing it on MTV, and then you had smaller shows around in New York, Video Music Box, but that came on. It was like an hour show. But I had to sit through all of those songs if I watched MTV to wait for Run DMC. And because of that, I love those records. So it's nothing for me to DJ and play, Van Halen Jump. I know what that record felt like when it was out because I was watching those videos. So I can play Jump and mix it in with, one of today's hot records with a Pitbull record, as long as it's in key and I can figure out that beat, like that's the way I DJ. I mix up everything. I just feel like music is music, but 2000 is when I got, first got into it. And roughly around 2004, 2005 is when I started to really take off, but more on the club side, not even the private event side. And but it was still important though, I had to really get in there and learn how to rock a crowd in order to be able to play these bigger events.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's funny that you say Jump, because my sister and we grew up in the suburbs of Detroit. We did not have BET and everyone else had BET and, what was it called? Video Jukebox or whatever. We just had MTV and VH1. So we knew that 80s rock, we knew it backwards and forwards.
Yes.
Knew the videos, knew the people. I was in love with Adam Ant. Don't tell anybody. But
wow.
So we knew that music very well. And then when Yo MTV Raps finally came on, we were like, oh, finally we can see something, because we didn't get BET until I was in college. And I was away at school, had BET in my college dorm room, and then went home and was like, we got BET? And so it was a big deal to us. Yeah.
Those
so that's interesting that you DJ, all genres, but that probably leans you to more jobs too, because you do all genres.
Yeah, my gigs on the urban side probably, urban probably represents like 15% of, the work that I do throughout the year. And pretty much throughout my DJ career, most of my gigs are mainstream. I play in Vegas at Hakkasan, I play in Vegas at Omnia, Miami at Live, the Borgata Casino in Atlantic City, and then some of the big clubs around New York, from, PhD to Marquee to even in Chicago, it's Studio Paris. It's always big rooms like that where it's never really too much hip hop. And if it is hip hop, it's more current. It's not really the classics. But I don't knock it, because those gigs are just as important as when I do a gig where I can see a Dougie Fresh. Because the reality is, the American Black Film Festival, they may not have hired me if they didn't know that I was kind of in demand and traveling the world and playing for everyone. And then that kind of makes it cooler for them. So, I'm very grateful for the mainstream gigs that I get. But I love when I can play classics. When I can play Stevie Wonder in a party, I'm happy.
And I personally, went to, you were in Chicago most recently, and I really had no intentions of staying long, because I knew I had a long day the next day. But you played like everything from like my college age, high school age, and I said, "Oh, I can't leave." I literally danced the whole time. When you were at Promontory with the other two DJs?
Yes.
Yeah.
With Clark and Rich Medina. Yeah, that was fun.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun.
It was, oh yeah, I had a ball. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I had no intention of staying. I had told my friends, I was like, I gotta go. I'm just coming, say hello. I'll be here for a few minutes, but I gotta leave. But I mean, you just kept bringing them. I was like, okay, I can't leave. I can't leave.
We had a great time.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys look like you're enjoying yourselves. And I always like when people enjoy what they do. They just, you know, I think it's just better that, you know, it's not a job. You look like you enjoy what you do. And then you did a Periscope recently. You were behind Eddie Levert.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I can't believe my life. This is awesome. But, you know, it's just good. You know, like I really do love music, you know, and I would do the same thing in the middle of my living room that I do at the clubs, like for free. I would do it right here, you know, because it's just music. And what's better than having a great time amongst friends, you know, and dancing and singing along? Like that's great. So when I'm behind the turntables, I promise you, I try. That's why when you see me, I rarely talk. There's usually no one around me.
Right.
Because I feel like if someone decides to spend 4 hours with you, you owe it to them to give them 100% of who you are and to provide this great experience. So that's always my focus. I never really do the entourage thing. I travel alone. I'm in that booth alone, unless I'm doing like something with the originals or maybe co-DJ with someone else. Other than that, strictly about the people dancing. And that's the way I live, man. Like that's the way my gigs work.
And that's why you're in such high demand. So how did you turn this whole DJing, because you have a lot of huge partnerships that you've become a part of, and how did you finagle all that? Because you weren't really a businessman. You were, you know, first you were, you know, MC, a producer. So how did you do all that?
Well, actually, that's not true. I was a businessman.
Oh,
after music, after music, I started a web development company called United Camps, and what we did at United Camps was we built websites and did online marketing for everyone from Aaliyah to Annie Lennox, Luther Vandross to Boyz II Men. I worked with AT&T. I worked the G Unit shoe. You know, I built the Violator site. I was building sites for all of the record companies. And so that's where the whole brand partnership thing started from. For me, it was like I had all of these great relationships, and I started DJing because most of those people, when you look at our career on the music side, I started out in 1986. I was 15 years old. The music that people were listening to that helped get some people through college was our music. So now, as a 40-something-year-old man sitting in an office or taking meetings, these people that grew up listening to the music are now CEOs. So they're fans, and then they're like, well, wait, you're doing this? Oh, what's better than that? Like, I'm a fan. Like, oh, let's do something together. And that's usually how all of my deals happen. And because I have this rich history in I've always been online. I've always been in the technology from back in the Prodigy days and CompuServe, and I was building bulletin boards. Like, I was doing all of that. I was always fascinated with it. And because I had that skill set, it made everything else in my life easier. So from DJing, so how I kind of got my name out there from DJing, well, obviously, there were bigger DJs at the time, I mean, there's still huge DJs from Funkmaster Flex and DJ Clue and all these guys. Well, how am I going to get in there and compete with them? I had the benefit of knowing how to use the web. I was building my own e-cards and e-vites and, mailing. I managed my mailing list. I built a blog. I would write these stories and share photography. And I built my fan base based on that. It wasn't just about the music. It was because I knew how to market myself. And I knew that, people want to feel good. Everybody wants what they can't have. So in order to get to that next level, I also made sure that there was some level of exclusivity with everything that I was doing. Like, I shouldn't be at everyone's party. I shouldn't DJ everyone's party. Should I hang out at everyone's party? So if you see me out, it's usually because it's either a really hot party or I'm DJing it and it's a really hot party. Then you'll see me out. So I've always focused on that. You know, I've always felt like it was important to be able to play music, but it was also just as important to be able to do great business, to never be late, to always be responsible, you know, to know who you're DJing for. You know, if I'm doing a gig, you know, the inaugural ball, I can't play Lil Sean at the inaugural, you know, or Big Sean at the inaugural ball. Can't play those types of records. So
Right.
you have to know who you're DJing for. And I just really understood that, you know, like I really understood it. And that's why I do feel like I do so many good gigs and so many great opportunities to play even more.
Yeah, and you have, I mean, you really do the best gigs. It's like it'll be some random party that no one knew about in Chicago. And I was like, D-Nice is on here. Oh, well then maybe we should go. I'm serious. It'll, you know, it's not necessarily our normal promoters that we would usually go hang out with. It's something different, and it's always like it's always an experience. So it's a great thing. So
And
what do you think?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Nope. It's on you. I'm on the Ask Dr. Renee show. This is your show. You're leading the way.
What are your thoughts on the state of Black music today?
Oh man, Black music. What do I think about Black music? Some things I tend to stay out of. Like some conversations I don't get involved with, because I can tell you that I don't like someone's music or I don't like what they represent, and then next week I have a gig with them. Right. So I try to stay away from those types of topics. But what I will say is this, without, you know, pointing the finger at anyone, you know, I'm not a huge fan of what goes on, you know, and when I do listen to like Black music, there's so much that people are missing out on, so much good music, from Bilal to Robert Glasper, like, you know, so if we tend to just focus on like the club records, yeah, then you'll be disappointed. But people are making some beautiful music out there. K. John, like, but they're not big records, but it's great music out there that sometimes people are overlooking because of social media, because of what's going on, you know, with the blogs and everything, and they tend to think that these are the only people that are making records. But there's some beautiful music out there, so I don't want to just, you know, say I'm not a fan of what's going on today. I'm just not a big fan of the more popular music. And then when you think about Black music, you still got to look at people like Sam Smith, they're doing Black music, you know.
Robin Thicke.
Robin Thicke, it's still Black music, you know, and they're doing it better than some guys too, man, which is crazy. But then you still have the classic guys that are dropping albums, you know, from Lionel Richie. Like, I'm just a fan of like great songwriting, you know, like it could be Neil's a great songwriter, but Neil also knows that he has to walk the line between making great songs and being in the club where he's going to be relevant to be able to sell these songs. And I think Neil kind of walks like that line well. He does well with it on the more popular side. And then, you know, you have Mary J. Blige kind of experimenting recently with her the album, the London album. Like, so people are starting to get back into real songwriting again, but it's going to take a minute, you know, like, because people really want to dance in the clubs. And that's the thing, you know, we got to figure out how to make them dance, but still write great songs. It's crazy because I was reading an article on music, and they said that all of the top 10 records, it's like, if you read the lyrics, it's like reading on a third grade level. Like, they're not complicated lyrics at all. But when you go back and you listen to what Marvin Gaye was saying, whether it was the lovemaking songs to Heavy Love Affair, to, you know, you listen to those songs and the lyrics and how intricate they were, brilliant music. Stevie, like, and you know, and of course there were other people, like even the Barge, like, you know, like those records were brilliant records, you know, and somehow people got to get back to making some of those records and still make the club records, because I'm, you know, I don't want to be out of work. I need a hot club record, you know, but you know, just get back to great songwriting. We're missing out on some beautiful music.
I agree, and I'm more of a I tell everyone I like old school hip hop, and when I say old school, I'm like anything before the 2000s. Yeah. I don't listen to the radio. I'm really unaware, And the only time I become aware is if someone mentions something to me and then I go look it up. I don't know. I'm not interested. I said, they're not catering to me. I like real lyrics. Like, I loved MC Light. I loved MC Light. She wrote real music. I mean, real songs with real messages and lyrics. And I'm a fan of that. And so, and I don't hear any of that now. Not to mention, you're right, you can't understand half the time what they're saying, which is a problem. So if it's got a good beat, maybe I'll be interested, but really I like lyrics. So I understand completely.
Yeah. I mean,
what would you tell?
Wait, say again?
There's some what? No, would you say there's some what?
There's some songs out right now that are good songs, but they would be even better songs if you knew what they were saying. You know, like not every record needs, explicit lyrics. You know, like sometimes you can just make a great song. Like I think Drake does a good job. Drake makes great records. And there are some other people out there, but I think of today's generation, Drake kind of knows how to walk the thin line in terms of hip hop between his male and female audience, kind of in the same way that he was like our version of LL Cool J, like he's this generation's LL Cool J. Because LL was hardcore, but he made Around the Way Girl, and he made all these songs
I Need Love. Yep.
I Need Love. Like he wasn't afraid to, how they say Drake is very emo. That was LL all the way, So yeah, there's some people making good music.
Yeah. What would you tell an upcoming MC, DJ, producer that's trying to get into the industry now? What would you tell them? What would be your advice?
My one piece of advice would be to learn the business. I would learn the business first, like honestly. I know that kind of takes away from creativity sometimes, but at the end of the day, man, the music industry is shifting. So the traditional deals are no longer there. People want 360 deals. People are coming and they want, record companies are really trying to take everything from you now. So if you don't know the business side of it, you'll be willing to just give that all up just because you want to hit record in the clubs. So my thing is to learn as much of the business as possible and find that balance between still being able to understand your business and still being creative. Had I not had like some attorneys that actually worked for the record company that I was signed to, that challenged me to go into a library to read books on the business so I could get out of the contract that they had me under, which is crazy, but they wanted to see me win. And I'm still very close friends to two of the attorneys, like I can call them for anything because they challenged me, and those challenges changed my life. And it was about knowing the business. You can be as creative as you want, but go back to Marvin Gaye, man, Marvin Gaye is the reason why Stevie Wonder started to produce his own music. It was because Marvin Gaye did What's Going On against Berry Gordy's wishes. Back then, everything was controlled by producers. That man put that album out, and then Stevie Wonder was like, well, why can't I produce my own music? And it just started to change everything from where Michael Jackson wanted to produce his own music. And you know what we got? We got some incredible records from people that figured out the business side of it and said, this is what I want to do. This is my right. And this is how we're going to make this happen. So my advice would be to learn the business. You don't want to be an old dude and you didn't learn the business and you lost your masters and you have no royalties coming in. It is very important to understand those deals that you're getting into.
And so how early on did you learn the business so that you were taken care of?
I learned late. That's why I can give this advice. I didn't learn until, as a matter of fact, I haven't even made a record since I learned the business side of it.
Okay.
I learned how to get out of the deal that I was in. And because of that, I never wanted to make records again. I never wanted to be signed to a record company. I never wanted anyone to have that much control over me. I felt like I was no different than a can of Coca-Cola. It's just, you market me, you put me in the stores, and once you're done, that's it. Move on to the next flavor, whatever. I didn't want to be that anymore. I wanted to be a person that was in control of his career. And I'm so happy of that. I'm glad that those challenges were presented to me to learn how to get out of my own agreement. And, it just stuck with me. So I'm always going to tell people, I'm sorry, my phones are like all ringing. So I'm trying to make sure that I turn the ringers off.
Okay, it's okay. So Now you did allude to this a little bit earlier, but how has social media played in the, any parts in your career currently?
I'm, as you know, I'm everywhere, from Periscope, Meerkat, everything, Snapchat. And I've been that way from the very beginning. I've always been online. I felt, I went, when I wasn't making music, and it was the time where it was a good 5 years of no income coming in, and I had to figure out life. Life was really happening, and I had no income. And the one thing that was there for me was being online. And this was in AOL chat room days, and like I said, CompuServe, and all those days. I was still addicted to the fame, which is so crazy. I'm glad I had the 5 years off, because I learned to not be addicted to that stuff anymore. But when you've had fame from the time, like I've had fame since I was 15 years old. And when people stopped clapping, it was like, I was shocked. Like, hey, what am I going to do? And I fell in love with being online and being in chat rooms. And I would do silly things. Like I would literally sign into a chat room and it's like, yo, D-Nice is here. Because I still wanted that feeling. And then I started to like really use it for what it was for, like email, start to do research. I mean, there was no Google then, but it was just do research online within those programs. And AOL was amazing. AOL days were great because everything was in AOL. You had your news there, you had your email, like your friend list. Like AOL was the best when it was hot. So I was on AOL like roughly 18 hours a day. And that's how I learned to build websites. When it started to like really happen, I'd already knew what to look for because I was using it already. And then I started my business doing so. So yeah, it was a very important time in my life. And social media has always been there from back then to now. Like now, I mean, everything's so connected. Like most people wouldn't even know I was a photographer had it not been for Instagram. I feel like I'm becoming a better photographer because I do read some of the comments and I do see what people are saying, and I can tell what affects them the most. Sometimes I'll throw a picture up just because I love it, but I know when I post something, I can tell you, oh, this is going to be one. Whether it's from, a lot of people love when I just photograph people, and make them and just like intimate shots of people. And that's like one of my favorite things to do really on the hip hop side is to be able to show the beauty of some of these artists that you never get to see. You may never meet MC Search, or you may never meet Puff, but I have a different type of relationship with them. So I try to use the camera to show them in the best possible light, the way I see them. And people give me access because of that. So, but they wouldn't know about it had it not been for social media, had it not been for Instagram and Twitter and apps like that. So yeah, no, I'm a big social media fan.
So when did the photography come in? Because you weren't always taking pictures, right?
Photography happened. No, I was always taking pictures.
Okay.
I just didn't respect it. I was shooting pictures back in the 80s, but I thought the power was in the actual print, not the negative, because I didn't go to school for it. So I didn't understand the importance of maintaining the negative. So I didn't save any of that stuff. And then over the years, people come over and they take prints. And so I don't have a lot of the stuff from back in the day, but, from the last, 16, 17 years, yeah, no, I have a great archive now. I mean, it would be a lot more massive, but I'm really happy with what I have now because I know how to shoot. Those images from back then was just me holding the camera and just taking a picture. And like now I feel like I create the image because I really understand lighting. I get it, I know what to look for when shooting.
So now you were working on a photo book, weren't you?
I'm still working on it. It's good. Okay. We're doing trying to close a deal now with Dave Chappelle. I photographed him 10 nights at Radio City. So that's one deal we're working on, and then working on my coffee table book. Trying to have the coffee table book done. We're still like curating images. So I want to have that done for Christmas this year, 2015. Yeah. And the Dave book probably, next year. But, we're trying to do not even trying to. I've already locked down a gallery in Miami for exhibition during Art Basel for this winter coming up. And that's strictly about the Dave Chappelle images because these images are so hot. Yeah, they're really hot. And I never showed the images, so really hot. 10 sold out nights at Radio City Music Hall. Only one photographer there, me. Yeah, got some hot joints.
Royale Watkins was on a few weeks ago, and he sang your praises as well and talked about how you were the best photographer and everything.
Well, I love Royale for that. I spoke to him today. I wouldn't say I'm the best photographer, but I think I'm really good at what I do. And when you put me in a room with the people that we love, I can get the shot out of them. So I think I'm good at that. And Royale is one of my closest friends. You know, one of the most honest men that I know. You know, like I can call Royale on the phone if I'm stressed out in tears, like, yo, bro, like something's on my mind. And he's never been judgmental, always give good advice. And I wish I was half as good at giving advice back to him the way he is for me. He's just a great guy, great all around guy.
Yeah, that's my big brother. I love Royale. He's the best. And he's been very helpful, and especially with social media too. And that's how we met, actually. And
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's the bomb. So we've gotten a ton of questions. So did you lose friends, family, etc. while pursuing your dream as a DJ in the industry? This is from Dawn Day.
Yeah, no, I've definitely lost a lot of friends. So, I mean, I'll keep this one brief. Wait, hold on. I gotta just tell someone this real quick. I know this is so crazy, but so the thing about losing friends, yes, that happened. That still happens because it's about, for me, DJing is not just about the love of music. It is also my job. It's also my business, and it's the way that I provide for my family. So ultimately, it's like I treat it that way. So I had to make a decision early on. You can't be two types of DJs. You can't be a master of old school and then want to be the big Vegas DJ or play these big events. So I had to make a choice. And this was at the advice of Chris Lighty. He was like, dude, you got to make a choice. You cannot do both right now. You got to figure this out. And I had already done old school. I am old school. I represent old school. I felt like DJing in the bigger events would inspire someone from my generation to move forward with their dreams. You know, but if I just played old school hip hop shows and, you know, that's still doing the same thing. There's no real evolution there. So in doing so, yes, I kind of had to alienate myself from a lot of people because the problem was, you know, Melly Mel is an absolute legend. If he goes to an old school show, he's a legend. But if he walks up to the door of a gig where I'm spending in Vegas, they may not know who he is. Half of the people that work there are 22 years old. He hasn't made a record in years. Then when they can't get in, they blame it on me. Like, I should have done something when it's not my party, you know, and I'm in the middle of DJing. So, you know, I lost a lot of friends due to situations like that, you know, and it's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, I am still there to provide a service. I'm still professional, and I don't run out to doors to get people. And that Melly Mel story was something I just made up. I just use that as an example. Yeah. Melly Mel never came to any of my parties, but, you know, I just using it as an example. But yeah, sometimes it's rough, you know, and but I have no regrets because I really do love where I am, and I love that I'm able to provide a certain lifestyle for my family.
So Sorento would like to know, will you ever go back to doing the web show True Hip Hop Stories?
Yes, I had my buddies are doing meetings right now in LA with Randy Jackson and a couple of other people about, I really want to do more of a televised version of it. I think it's important now. Hip hop is everywhere, and not for it to just live online. I was doing shooting all of the stuff myself. I shot all of the content. They're my cameras. I did all of the editing, but then the DJing career really took off, and there are only but so many hours in a day. And but now I kind of want to do it on a bigger scale, where yes, there is a real team behind it. So we've been trying to, not even trying to, we've been putting that together with couple of guys. One guy used to manage D'Angelo, so he's a good friend of mine. Do you know Dominique Trinier? Oh yeah. So I'm doing that with him,
Okay. Well, that'll
Next.
be great because I did see some of those on online. They were great. Do you have a favorite venue that you'd like to spin at, and what is your dream gig? This is from Letitia Sanders.
Hey, Letitia. I don't really have a dream gig anymore. You know, the dream gig happened for me in 2008 when Barack Obama was elected president, and I wasn't DJing any of the official parties. I DJed the BET party, which was still a big thing, and I was grateful for it. But I wasn't happy that I wasn't doing the official party for the president. And in 2008, 2009, I said, if he wins again, I will be the DJ at the inaugural ball. And you know what? I was the DJ of the inaugural ball for 2012. Yeah, so that was my dream gig, and I did it. But everything else I've already done. I've seen the world and played some amazing gigs with people. I mean, I've DJ with Stevie Wonder and all these amazing people. So I don't, you know, right now I'm just happy to be able to tell these stories, you know, like and it's still growing, you know, it's still growing.
And what's your goal for yourself and the D-Nice brand? That's my sister's question.
Right now, the next goal for me is to get this book out. I mean, there are three things that I want to do. One is to get multiple books out, not just one coffee table book, but multiple books, and then also to be able to tell my story in book form. All of that stuff is happening now. The other thing is I started a company called Brand Nice, and ultimately Brand Nice is how I work off my deals. So whether it's through Hennessy, whether it's through Leica cameras, Brand Nice was the company that went out and sought the partnerships and made it happen. And ultimately, I want to do that for more artists. So I want to become that liaison between talent and corporations, you know, and that's where I'm moving forward with that right now with some of the things that I'm working on. I wish I could mention them all. There's some good stuff, and you'll be. I know I'll be able to tell you offline.
Yeah,
there's some really good stuff, man. It's really good. Honestly, God's been good, you know, and the people have given me so many opportunities to just be great, and I'm trying not to let anyone down, you know. And it's such a wonderful feeling knowing that I have the support of so many people, so many wonderful people.
So what is your definition of branding?
Oh man, my definition of branding. You know, I honestly I can't really give you my definition because everything that I do is based on a feeling. So it's
Okay.
like everything is based on how I feel about it, and that's one of the things that I learned from Puff. Like if you look at the way Puff brands himself, there's nothing traditional about the way that he does things. He's so out of the box with it, and he's so creative, and you know, and I think like that. Like it's about what feels right. You know, sometimes I'll do deals where I may not make the most money, but it'll be the best look, and that's a part of branding. It's part of separating myself from people. You know, so everything for me is about a feeling. So that's the only way that I can articulate it. You know, that may not work for someone else. That may not work for Coca-Cola, where they have a bottom line and they need to know exactly how they're going to lay out this next Coke advertisement. But for me, it works well as an artist. It's great. Yeah, everything is based on that feeling.
One of my favorite DJs, DJ DDT out of Detroit, wanted to know, what is your favorite camera or your favorite lens?
My favorite camera is Leica M6. My favorite lens is a 35 millimeter f1.4 lens. That's also a Leica brand. Okay. I'm so multitask. Look, just so you know,
I see you.
The phone has to stop the iPad. The other phone, I'm like, yo.
That's good. You can multitask because I'm over here doing 10 things myself. I understand. Completely understand. Yeah. Oh, I usually tell the story at the beginning, but I didn't. So how I met Derrick was I was at the Essence Festival, and my girlfriend, Felicia Butterfield Jones, who was on a past episode, was she said, "Oh, I know the DJ." I said, "Okay." She goes, let's go take him a drink." I said, "Oh, okay." So I went over there with her, and it was him, and He's like, hi, nice to meet you. And that was that. So I swear it was like a year later or something. We were in the car and we picked you up in Chicago. And she said, oh, my girlfriend, Dr. Renee's in the back seat. And for the fact that you knew who I was, blew my top. I was like, no, you know what? What happened before that? At her wedding. That's what it was. At her wedding, Michael Warner, whose wife was on the show before too, she was, he said, oh, this is my girl, Dr. Renee. And he goes, I know Dr. Renee. That's my Twitter friend. I said, oh my God. I told my sister, I go, Liz, he like really knew who I was. And then somebody else said, oh, D Nice does not forget. Oh, that man has a very good memory. And I mean, ever since then, he's always showed me love. So, yeah.
Well, when you meet good people, you want to keep good people in your life, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, we're family forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and the fact that, you know, Felicia doesn't introduce good people to, she like protects her good friends. And the fact that she put us together and even at her wedding, it was so beautiful and intimate. And, you know, I love that. I love meeting good people, and you're one of them. So, yeah, no, we're going to be friends for a very long time.
Thank you. And I exact same thing. And like I said, you know, I meet, you know, this industry, I meet so many people and you're like, but you are genuine. You are the same person. You're always very nice. As a matter of fact, my girlfriend that was with me in Chicago when you came, she couldn't watch tonight, but she said she's going to the ABF this weekend. And she said you're DJing some party that she's going to be at. And so she's very excited to see you again.
Yep, I'm there tomorrow. And then I do the closing night party on Sunday. Okay. So, yeah.
It's her birthday weekend celebration. Tiffany Tapley, happy birthday. And so she's very excited to see you.
Yeah.
Well. So I usually have my little quick round of questions at the end, but really I want to know, just as you just have so much, just, you know, good stuff in your mind, what is your favorite quote or scripture? Do you have one?
Oh my gosh. No, I don't have one.
Okay.
I honestly don't have one. And I read so many books, but I don't really have a favorite quote at all. Okay. I should have one. I need a quote. I actually should have one. I just read so much. Like right now, I'm reading a business book now, The Millionaire Next Door.
Okay.
And another book I started called Ishmael. So I'm reading that.
Oh, you know what? You were on Periscope talking about that, and my signal went bad, and I didn't get to hear the rest of that. But
yeah, so I've been going back and forth. Wait, do you mind holding for 1 second? My door.
No, yeah, go ahead. It's a live show, everyone. Can't you tell? Are there any more questions? Because we're going to wrap up in a minute. So if you have any more questions, shoot them in now. Or text me or tweet. My producer is sending me questions from YouTube. So if you do type it up there, she'll send it. While we're waiting, everyone subscribe to the channel. Click the red subscribe here button below. Subscribe to the channel. This is Black Music Month. We're going to try and bring you a lot more Black music. So we have some pending folks, and I want to announce them when I have the exact dates that they'll be here. But we will have a show on Sunday. Oh, cool. He's back. Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to hear more about Ishmael, but like I said, the Periscope went away, and I said, "Oh shoot!" So, yeah, I don't know how you have time to read, because I don't. I have to do all things audio. It has to be something that's audio, so I can keep doing everything else at the same time.
It's really my Kindle, man. I don't know what I would do without a Kindle, because it's, you know, it's been like a lifesaver, because I listen to so much music, and sometimes it's like I don't want to hear music anymore. So I tend to listen to, you know, All Things Considered, or I'll listen to Jay Thomas, and I'll listen to talk radio, and then I'll just read. You know, I'll try to read a little, read a chapter a day, and just keep my mind going and learn something new. Yeah, gotta stay on top of things, you know.
Yes.
Everything can't be entertainment for me. It can't be about music and photography. You know, really do need to be able to be a great teacher to my kids and to other kids, you know. So that's why I feel like it's important to keep reading and stay knowledgeable on different things. Yeah.
So my real quick 3 questions.
Okay, go ahead.
The first thing that comes to mind, it could be a phrase, it could be a word. I believe in.
Me.
Well, that's good. That's great. Love is.
Love is everything. Yeah.
And my job is.
God. Wow, that actually nothing came to mind. Actually, so many things came to mind. I literally saw cameras and turntables and books, which is so crazy. So my job is, what is my, I don't even know what my job is. I don't want to say photographer. Well, no, my job, honestly, I feel like I'm more photographer than anything. Okay. So yes, that's my job. I'm a photographer.
Okay,
yeah.
Please tell everyone what you have coming up so that people can support what you have coming up and how they can find you.
Well, of course, you can find me on social media at DJ D Nice on Twitter and Instagram and Periscope, Meerkat. You can find me on all of these things, and Snapchat. What I'm working on next, outside of, I'm trying to finish curating the coffee table book. I have a bunch of shows coming up from everywhere. I'll be in Vegas on June 26th. I'll be in Atlantic City at the Borgata on June 28th. I'll be in LA for BET Awards weekend with Usher on the 27th. 4th of July weekend, I'll be in New Orleans, of course. What am I doing? I'm at Harrah's on the 4th of July. Oh, that's the one. Harrah's Casino, New Orleans, 4th of July. D Nice, DJ Clark Kent, DJ Stretch Armstrong. We are the originals. Harrah's, Essence. That's going to be crazy. Other than that, I mean, I post a lot of that stuff on my social media, so you'll be able to find more info there. Yeah, but those are the big ones coming up. And of course, the American Black Film Festival, which is starts tomorrow. So, and Live on Friday night. If you're in Miami, I'm at Live. Damn, I'm everywhere, right?
Letitia would like to know if you know when you're coming back to Chicago.
Oh, Chicago. I do have a Chicago date coming up. I just don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay.
It's not until like August.
Okay.
Cool.
And so everyone, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope that you have been inspired by this fabulous story, and you know that you should live the life that you deserve and do whatever it is that you want to do, that you love to do, that you would do for free. Then that's your purpose. That's your passion. That's what you should do. And you'd be amazed. You can make money doing exactly what it is that you love to do.
Yes.
You can follow me across all social media platforms at Ask Dr. Renee, and that's Periscope, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and then, of course, my website, AskDrRenee.info. What's your website? You didn't put it up there.
Oh, it's just dnice.com, d-nice.com.
Okay. Make sure you pay, because he posts a lot of his pictures on there, too, so you should check it out. But definitely, please support everything this man is doing. If you hear that he is in your city and he is DJing, I promise you it's going to be a good time. And ladies, you should probably wear flats. Wear flats, because you will dance. And everyone, please stay tuned. We are going to have an amazing Black Music Month. I just know it. I'm just waiting for some confirmations before I can say who's definitely going to be on. But I will let you know very soon who's going to be on Sunday. And if you have any suggestions of people you'd like to see on the show, please tweet me, email me, whatever, and I will check into it. If you know that their story is motivating, inspiring to you, and you think it'd be motivating, inspiring to others. Thank you, Joe College. My DJ Joe College from Chicago, now living in Atlanta, he just sent us a lovely message, said we had a great show. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and I will see you next time.
Peace.